This is Bill Kimler, co-host of the Black, White, and Blue in the South podcast. This Halloween, stand out from the crowd with ZJZDesigns.com. Their brand new limited edition spooky prints are here to haunt your wardrobe in the best way possible. With 5 new chilling designs, you'll be ready for trick-or-treating, haunted houses, and everything this spooky season has to offer. Whether you're getting festive for the holidays or just looking for unique, high-quality designs to up your style game, ZJZDesigns.com has you covered. Shop now at ZJZDesigns.com and discover the t-shirts that'll make you stand out in any season. Don't get caught without the coolest Halloween t-shirt. Grab yours before they disappear. ZJZDesigns.com.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to the All About Nothing podcast. I am Barrett Gruber. This week, I'm going to be joined by Donny Supplee, who is the head of the United Way of Kershaw County here in South Carolina. We're going to get into that in just a minute. Please subscribe and share the show. That's how we get new listeners. Also, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting theallaboutnothing.com, becoming an official member, and calling yourself a true Nothinger. We'll have more details on that at the end of the show. If you can't do that, please give me a 5-star review, a like, and follow us across social media. You can follow links at theallaboutnothing.com. So like I said, this week we are going to be speaking with Donny. I don't know why I keep trying to call you Donald. Is Donald's your first name?
Donald is my first name.
Okay, good. So I didn't rename you from what your parents had graced you with at birth.
Exactly.
Thank goodness. Donny Supplee is the head of the United Way here in Kershaw County, South Carolina. He has been doing this for 32 years, as passionately, from my readings, as anyone possibly can. Welcome to the show, Donny. Really appreciate you coming on and working with my schedule. I'm very thankful for that. How are you today?
Not a problem. I'm great. Glad to be here.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, we'll get into the United Way just here in just a second, but,
Okay.
tell us about yourself.
All right. Grew up in Columbia, so I know Columbia well. In fact, I live there now and commute to Camden. So still a Richland County resident. Actually live in my grandfather's house. And my son, one of my youngest son, I can say one of my youngest sons because they're twins. So one of my youngest sons lives beside us in the house that I grew up in. So it's kind of a coming back home type thing as far as living. Been married to my wife for 46 years. We have 4 boys. As I said, 2 of them are twins, and which is kind of redundant, I guess, isn't it?
A little bit, but you're in good.
You work with me.
Yeah,
you work with me.
I was going to say you're in good company because I have twins.
Awesome.
My co-host, Zach, he has twins. I feel like somehow we have raised the bar on the percentage chance of people having twins.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So they just turned 40. So I somehow in all of this stuff, I turned old. I don't know, but so we've lived in Columbia, we've lived in Camden, and we've pretty much lived here all of our lives. And we have 3 grandsons, so all we know how to do is boys, and they all live real close by. One of whom is right next door to me, which is why we moved to that house. We love Columbia. We've been there a long time, like I said, and I love commuting to Camden. It's been a great thing for me, and there's probably more than 2 reasons, but only 2 that come to mind is either I can't do this job very well and can't find another one, or I love it, and that's the one that I'm sticking with because I really have enjoyed working in Kershaw County. Our volunteers are pretty amazing, and the board of directors that I've had over the years has been real supportive of us doing lots of different stuff. So
I have to ask this question.
Yes.
You have 40-year-old son. You have grandchildren. What deal did you make with some underworld? Because you do not look old enough to have experienced all of these things. 47 years married to your wife, Sharon.
Yes.
4 grown boys. You've been working for the United Way and with the United Way for 32 years. There's got to be some sort of a time loop going on because honestly, when you sat down in that chair, I was like, oh, good, he's my age, and just kind of
Well,
moved
no.
on. But
Yeah, I mean, I have to blame it on my father. He looked young for a long, long time as well. So, I mean, when I
yeah,
first started my career, it was I had to grow a beard to not be assumed to be a kid that was walking in somewhere where he shouldn't be. So,
that's great.
yeah,
I grow a beard just to cover, this. It's to help other people. Um, Look, the United Way, I have to say, is one of those organizations that I think, and I'll be completely honest. When I first started working for Blue Cross Blue Shield here in South Carolina, they were so aggressive about signing up for the United Way that it felt so aggressive, and it ultimately, it was one of those things where I felt like I had to push back a little bit, but we would always get a list of all of the organizations across South Carolina that would benefit from the United Way. And one of the ones that was absolutely important to me was the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts of America. Those are two organizations that receive a pretty good chunk of money to keep those troops and those packs going. Um, what was it for you that really led you to working with the United Way?
kind of like you in the beginning, I was asked to give at the agency that I worked at, which was Babcock Center in Columbia, serves
Oh,
people with disabilities, and we were funded by United Way. And my boss would come to me and say, "Hey, by the way, your program is funded by United Way, so you might want to give." Um, there's definitely truth in the fact that sometimes it has been heavy-handed, and it's not something that we endorse. In fact, it's something that really, like you just said, I've got plenty of retirees who tell me I don't give to United Way because I was made to give to United Way. And that's not the way it should be. It never should have been. And the culture these days, it's not going to happen, even if they tried. There's a lot of pushback. People want to give to something they're involved with, not just give to a bigger cause. So really, United Ways over the years have changed greatly as well, from being just a fundraiser to being an impact organization, and the difference being that we don't just raise money, and we measure our success by the impact that we make in the community, not by how much money we raise. Definitely need money to be able to do the stuff we do, both in the community, and we have what's called internal programs and external programs in Kershaw County. So we do some of the things, and we support some of our partner agencies.
it is campaign season right now, and
Yes, it is.
you all are actively taking donations to the idea is that basically you're trying to fund what will be the next year, correct?
Right. Right.
All right. So, of course, you have a website, which is, and I wrote it down, and now I'm looking at my handwriting, but it's uwkc.net.
Exactly.
That information is going to be in the show notes.
Right.
I assume people can make donations, whether it's through debit or credit card or things like that. Um, when, because you're very good at this already. Do you find that it difficult going and asking for people to make donations, or is that such a small part of the pitch?
Um, I mean, you say I'm good at this already. It's 32 years I've I've been learning this thing.
Fair, yes.
When I interviewed in 1992, it was the year that a huge controversy with United Way of America, then it's now United Way Worldwide, but it was United Way of America then, and the person that was heading it up had been there for years, did some amazingly good stuff with, for instance, the partnership with the NFL, which is kind of no longer. But for years, most people knew United Way by the NFL quarterback or whoever it was that year that was sponsoring the United Way. And for all of us, it works the United Way type of thing. And that was our identity a little bit. But this guy went off the rails, did wrong stuff, got arrested, served time, but it made people very bitter about United Way, and it was the year I was hired too. So I can blame any kind of struggle we had in '92 with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a matter of United Ways are local, and so at that time there were 3,000 United Ways throughout the country. Now there's about 1,100. Some of that's through mergers. So, for instance, United Way of the Midlands at Columbia has 6 different counties now. They had 4 for a long, long time, and they've added, I believe it's Calhoun and Orangeburg, I think. So anyway, they have added other counties, and that happens sometimes, but also some United Ways have just gone under. So some of the more rural counties in South Carolina don't have a United Way because it is getting to be a much more complex organization. It's not just a fundraiser anymore. And so we do ask our United Way Worldwide to hold us accountable for certain standards. They're still a support to us, not the other way around. So unlike some top-down organizations, the local board decides what the priorities of the United Way are in that community and how it's carried out. And so we all carry it out very differently. That's both a blessing and a curse. So when people hear United Way, they think of whatever they grew up with or whatever county or city that they were in as United Way. Well, we're very, very different.
Yeah.
Not necessarily good or bad, just different.
Under your, I want to say the word regime, but it feels dark. But you all started a food pantry in 2017.
Right.
Tell me about that. That because while that's something that we think of as being necessary, but like
Right.
even now, like I have seen food pantries pop up in Lexington County
Yes.
over the course of the last 6 months where I had not seen them before.
Right.
And there's such a community necessity now because let's be honest, the cost of groceries is going up. We
crazy.
continue to see it every week. I see our grocery bill go up, maybe an extra $2 or an extra
Yep.
$5. But in the last 7-8 months, further back than that, we've continued to see that cost going up. How does your food pantry really benefit the people that are able to take advantage of that?
All right. So a little history first. 2008, United Way of America challenged all United Ways throughout the country to consider some building blocks to a good community or a strong community or a thriving community. And they had to do with education, they had to do with health, and they had to do with financial stability. And so most of us adopted those things because it was well researched and well founded that those things are so important. If you don't have health, if you don't have education, and you don't have financial stability, you don't have a great community.
Yeah.
And so we latched onto those things. So in 2008, we did what was called 10 bold goals. And those goals were actually not 10 bold goals for our future for 10 years. So for instance, we set a goal of ending hunger and homelessness in Kershaw County in the next 10 years. Again, I shouldn't say goal, I say vision, because it's not going to be reachable. So it was a vision for us to do that. So by 2016, we had a board meeting. We have a board of about 25 folks from our community who direct the direction that we go. And there was a question asked in December of the school superintendent from about one of our board members. And he said, "Aren't you excited that the kids are out for 2 weeks?" And he said, "I would be excited, but for the fact that I think there are kids that the only meal they get or the only meals they get are breakfast and lunch at school. And so I'm concerned about that."
Yeah.
So we started looking at, okay, we've been 8 years into this thing, and we found that there were 16, like you said, pantries throughout Kershaw County. Well, 16, that ought to do it. But some of them were very small, and really not doing what needed to be done to meet the need in our community. And so that's why we started the pantry. At this point, we have expanded to 7 different locations throughout the county. We're a fairly large county geographically. And so if people can't get food, sometimes they also can't get transportation. And so we've made sure that we can get our food into what's called food deserts that are basically identified by the fact that there are people that either live more than a mile or so away from a grocery store, so they can't walk there, or some other considerations would be even if they're in the city, if they don't have transportation, it's kind of hard to get groceries. You see every now and then people walking to get groceries, but like any community that's small, there's not a whole lot of public transportation. So making sure you get food to neighborhoods is important. And so we have 7 different locations that we work with, some churches, some that we operate ourselves, and we also have a mobile pantry that we started during COVID. And so we deliver food out to different neighborhoods. Uh, our track record is basically that every 2 weeks folks can come. And so we monitor that because of the fact, or partly because of the fact that our food bank, which is in Columbia, Harvest Hope Food Bank, covers the Midlands area, requires certain things of us to be able to receive some of the food from them. We get a lot of food and a lot of goods from Target Distribution Center. They are by far our largest partner in this whole thing and donate all kind of great stuff to us that we're able to distribute to our community. Most of the folks we're serving are seniors or disabled. and most of them probably receive food stamps. But Harvest Hope told us years ago that food stamps usually last about 2 weeks. And that's again one of the reasons why we do this 2-week cycle.
Yeah.
Is we want to spread the wealth in terms of we don't want just the same people to get it over and over again and super often. And we want them to fend for themselves, and we want them to seek other means of getting their needs met as well. But we're able to provide a lot of staples for them, and a lot of it depends on donations. And so we're able to help. The last statistic we had, which is kind of unique because it's 9/11, was 911 families every 2 weeks we're
It's
able to help.
amazing.
And in a small community, we're a community of about 70,000 people.
Yeah.
So we're helping that many families. And so, you do the multiplication of 2.3 or however big the families are in our community, and you get to we're impacting a lot of lives. And it's really been this week, I was able to go out and spend an hour just distributing food. We have a pantry at our office. And so we distribute for about an hour. And to see the lines of people that come that are willing to wait a little while to do that, that will come early to be sure they're in line to get the first part because some stuff we run out of. It's just, it's heartwarming to see that we truly are helping people. And, we get a lot of folks who say, a lot of what United Way does is a hand out, and we happen to think that it's a hand up.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. And really, we don't do super amounts of screening because we feel like if people really need food, they're going to come. And if there are those that abuse it, the 2 or 3 that might, we're not going to spend our time being anything other than saying, "Are you from Kershaw County?" And even if they aren't, we'll help them that one time, and then we'll say, "There's this pantry in this community or that community." So we do definitely try to serve our own, but we don't do a huge amount of screening because we feel like people, if they're willing to stand in line, if they really, if there's 2 or 3 that are abusing the system, then we've done our part. We've helped people that need help, and those that would abuse it, shame on them. But we're not going to waste a whole lot of time doing a lot of that
Yeah.
screening out of people that
No,
don't somehow deserve it.
that's definitely my opinion when it comes to everything from Medicaid and welfare and things like that. You are going to get those people that do abuse the system, but the benefits for the people that are receiving those that aren't abusing the system, in my heart, outweigh what abuse there actually is statistically.
Right.
And so that's an amazing service. That I have to assume that you have a staff and volunteers that assist in this food pantry. That is not short hours, I have to assume.
Yes. Both. We have 3 staff, actually 4, 2 of whom are part-time. So we have 2 full-time. And then we have, I would say, probably 50 or more volunteers. Probably about 10 of them are almost every time we open the door because they're just passionate about it. Most of them are retirees who, again, when you see the difference that something makes firsthand, it not only wants you to give financially, but also to give of your time. And that's what they're doing and giving time that really makes a huge difference in our community. And it's heartwarming to them too. So, there's definitely benefit to doing something good for somebody else. And they really believe in and see the difference that's being made.
Absolutely wonderful story. I mean, just I commend you, and I I assume not every day is a great day, though. I have to assume that there are days where the job is a little harder than the day before, or that you know there've got to be times where there isn't enough giving to provide. And in those situations, how do you recover from days like that? Because I feel from you that you are extremely empathetic, that
Yes.
you suffer what these people are suffering, and that's why you've been doing it for so long. So how do you take care of yourself in these situations?
Well, you've got a good feeling. And I guess the way we take care of our organization is we have a very strong finance committee that is the volunteers. And I also have a very strong chief financial officer who is a balance to me because my tendency, in fact, my mantra for many years has been find a way to say yes. And sometimes we say or I say yes too many times, which means the financial piece gets even to be more of a challenge. So there's no question that in these days it's more of a challenge. There's also no question that um, because of the way industry is changing in particular, the old days of industry saying you're going to give to the United Way and thank you for doing it, sign here. Those days are gone, but the other days are gone of just that. Even asking people to give is not really something that is being done in a broad spectrum. So it's becoming much more of a grassroots, one-on-one. Who do you know, and who can you get to understand that you're more than just another group that's asking for money? Because we get asked for money all the time from all kind of places. And so, how do you raise that level? And part of it is the volunteer piece. Part of it is the internal initiatives that we have so people can give to something directly and not just to the United Way, to trust the United Way to do that because people, as you know, are not as trusting as they used to be. And unfortunately, for good reason. There are too many scammers that are out there. So we really have to be much more intentional about the face to face individual. I've got a relationship with you. And so you can trust the fact that I'm telling you this is a good thing.
Yeah.
And with volunteers, that's so crucial because with me, even though I've been doing it for a long time, even though I have a passion for it, it's still me as an employee. And so it's got to be in large order volunteers saying, "Hey, would you consider giving to this?" And what our whole aspect, and it's what I interviewed in 1992 saying is that I think people will give to something that makes a difference. And so as long as we're making a difference in our community, I think people will give to it. Now, money's tighter than it has been in a long time. And so this is a very challenging time. And because we've grown so much with grants and foundations, the match money that we need to sustain those things is critical as well. So it's not just being able to give it to other partner agencies, but it's being able to fund the things that we do locally because almost every grant that we get, especially federal, comes with strings attached, and that's part of those strings are match money, and it can be up to 50%. And so you can be happy you got $1 million grant, but guess what? You also just got a $250,000 match that you've got to find somewhere.
Yeah.
So our county is generous to us, our city is generous to us, but it really is getting to be much more of a challenge because of the changing way of our culture and the way they give. They want to give to what they want to give to. And so this notion of the United Way is going to take it and they're going to use your money wisely is like, nah, I'll use my own money wisely and I'll do it direct. And it's makes great sense. And it's one of the reasons why United Ways have evolved into, okay, we're no longer just a fundraiser. Because guess what? Fidelity can do the same thing that we can do for cheaper. And we used to say we're the easiest way for you to give and the cheapest way for you to give. Now you can open your own account and give to what you want to give to. So
Yeah, but you don't have the power of what comes with the United Way in that situation. You because you do have grants, and because those grants do require that matching, but your money is being combined with not only with the other donations that come in, but that those donations are also being put up against what this grant requires,
right.
which quadruples the amount of money that's available to help. United Way, it's, one of the things that I always saw was the list of participants or the list of organizations. And I mentioned the
Right.
Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts of America, but
Right.
it from that list, you almost get the sense that your money is going to help more nationally, but that isn't the case. This is very local,
Yes.
especially when we talk about the food pantries and things like that. But you know, the organization of the United Way to have you all as a group in Kershaw County, which is Kershaw County's got a population of what, 75, 80,000?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. So the impact that $1.25 million potentially has on that size of a county or the size of a population is huge. I don't think people understand just how far that money goes in this situation. Having something like Harvest for Hope that has the ability to take in donations and then distribute them in what I have found, because I've done work with the Harvest for Hope. I've done work with Transitions downtown Columbia. Um, this is the ability to stretch out the money that they have available in the ways that they do is something that is just unbelievable, and I don't think people understand that enough.
Right.
Is that something that you can speak to?
Absolutely. I mean, like Aaron Rowe, who is at Harvest Hope, and Craig Curry, who is at Transitions. I work with both of them, and just amazing people
Yeah.
that do amazing jobs, and that truly, I mean, like Craig's background is military, so he's taken that, and he's been at Transitions for a little while, and homelessness gets a huge bad name, but man, if you didn't have people like him figuring stuff out, and that's the other thing about giving to our United Way, is that we do take a look at what these agencies are doing. We don't just blindly give money away. It's money that's hard to raise, and so it's also hard to give it out. In terms of making sure that we're doing the right thing with those folks, and people that have chosen the social service background. Again, just like with food stamps and whatnot, there are people that abuse nonprofits as well. But for the most part, we've got some really great folks that are out there serving, and they need funding to be able to do that. And we're finding that it's getting harder because people are less trusting. And so that's where relationships again come in. And those two folks they're part of funding through the United Way of the Midlands. Sarah Fawcett, the director there, again, another amazing person who was on the board there, and then changed fields. She was in, I think, Avant, and so she was a business person, but left there to head up United Way there in Columbia. And I think she told me the other day she'd been there 5 or 6 years, which time passes so quickly. I've outlasted about 6 or 7, I think. John Hines was the director when I first started back in the day, and so they've been through quite a few. Mac Bennett's was an amazing guy, and they've just had Kerry Smith. I think his background, it might have been Blue Cross. No, it was IBM. So there have been people that either have been in the United Way system for a long time, and some of those folks are really good. But there's also folks that have come from industry that go into the field that really bring some new thoughts and attitudes and ideas to the field. And we in South Carolina work pretty well together. We have a United Way Association that again is a support to us, not the other way around. And so we are. There was a guy that was at the United Way of Piedmont, which is Spartanburg,
Okay.
and his mantra used to be, "We are ruggedly independent." We all think as United Ways that we're doing right, and we are for our community, but we're all very different. And so that rugged independence, I think, speaks to each community is different, and each community. I've always said that I'm not really hugely a United Way worldwide person. I'm a United Way of Kershaw County person because I believe so much in what we do, the difference we make.
Yeah. Well, again, the website is uwkc.net. It isn't just that donations are being taken during this campaign period. It's just that this campaign period is sort of a good anchor to being a time where donations can be made.
Right.
I know that through my paycheck, that United Way receives whatever percentage I tell it to. Um,
Right.
and ultimately it's such it to me, and hearing the benefits of it makes me think, okay, well, if it's 2% of what I make in a month, how can I, if there's a limitation to the amount, like, how can I do it more? And that's actually going to you all's website. Is there is there any availability, like have like direct draw that
Yes.
somebody, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
That is
You can
so
do all of
great.
those things because we basically in payroll deduction, what the deal was basically people took money out of their check and they could give a lot more because they were giving it gradually. So
Right.
yes, we've got the option on our website to be able to do that from your checking account or whatever. And so you can give more theoretically because you can give over time. And I think that connection that United Ways have to having to raise that money is, even though it's not the most fun thing, it is the thing that connects us so much to community. Because if I need to keep the county happy so that those people that work at the county will be giving, then when they call and they say, hey, I've got a person with need, then we respond to that because we want to be not just the fundraiser, we want to be the helper as well. And so we want to connect them to services.
Yeah.
Not because they've given or not. And I have plenty of people that come through the door and say, I've given to United Way for years. It's now time for you to help me. I tell them that we're not a savings account. I'll help you whether you have given or whether you haven't given. That's a whole different category.
Yeah.
So we do, separate the two, but there's also that linkage to community that is so important that you need to be responsive, and you need to be responsive every day. And that's, to me, it's what makes us different from a government agency that gets money from somewhere and it comes down and they're giving it to it, but there's not that responsibility, there's not that personal connection, and there's not the freedom to do the stuff that we can do independently. So.
Yeah, this isn't the same as your Social Security retirement that's supposed to be available. And look, I have no issue with paying into my Social Security, even though there is always that dark looming cloud being held over my head that it will not be there when when it's time for me to retire. I get it. And I accept that's a potential, but I also recognize the good that Social Security and Medicare does for people. My parents are recipients of Social Security and Medicare. So, as far as I'm concerned, even if they're not paying into it anymore and I'm paying as much as I can every year, take it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. Tell me about the Ready Readers.
Ready Reader.
Yeah, I saw this in the list of the info sheet that also real quick, I want to just shout out broadstreet.net.
Yes.
For anyone that has either a small business or a large business or an organization, absolutely, you need to check out broadstreet.net, because what Tom and Mary and Tiffany and the whole staff over there do is really they give you a web presence that is absolutely something that can bring more attention to what it is that you do. So the value that broadstreet.net brings to small businesses and organizations is something that I think everyone should just take a look at and consider it, because the team is fantastic. The websites they produce are second to none, and I say that because my website is awful, but I wrote it out myself, literally in the HTML code. I learned everything I had to learn, and then I was like, all right, it pretty much takes care of itself now. But if broadstreet.net did our website, we would absolutely get more people to visiting it to it. So that's
if you go to uwkc.net, you'll see Broad Street's work in person, because there are website designer and helper, and like you said, it's they're a great connection for us because they're all about community, and so they're all about serving and helping and doing all those things. So they're kind of the United Way of broadstreet.net. They're the gurus of doing technology in Kershaw County and beyond.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Wow. Okay, Ready Readers, tell me about this, because anytime, honestly, reading and children and all that, it's something that has always been a passion. I've been an avid reader my whole life. Lot of everything from Stephen King and Dean Koontz to Elmore Leonard, and it's just I enjoy it, because even if let's say the Lord of the Rings, J.R. Tolkien, if I enjoyed the movies as much as I do, or enjoyed the books as much as I did when I was a child, and then being able to see the movie, even if the movie's different, I'm happy to have the opportunity to see two different stories. How does Ready Readers impact the lives of the people that are involved?
All right, so we'll go back to 2008 again.
Okay.
Education was one of those key things for making a community great. So we set a goal of increasing our graduation rate to 95% in Kershaw County. So it was 78% at the time in 2008. We indeed got to the 95%, having to fudge a little bit by not counting people who will not graduate. So those folks who the state currently includes those folks that are going to be 21 and will never graduate, who have disabilities. So we stopped counting them because they would never graduate. And so we did some other little tricky things. We counted the 5-year graduation rate rather than the 4-year. So it gave them 5 years to make it because if they move away. But we took it from, again, 78% to 95%. When we did that, and that was, the 10 years was up 2018. So we're back a little bit from that now, but we're way up from where we were. And in fact, we had 3 high schools at the time. The smallest high school had a graduation rate of 57%. So we've got kids in a rural community, almost most of them not graduating high school. And if you look at anything as far as if you're going to get a job that pays anything more than minimum wage, you best have one of those at least.
Yeah.
And we also counted GEDs. And so we did a little finagling, but we did that with the 78% too. So we were fair with ourselves. It's just, if you look at the state's website, people would argue and say, well, no, it's not. But anyway, so we had those goals. We got the graduation rate up. We had people on our board that were saying, hey, time out. They're coming to our industry and they're not ready. So just because they graduate doesn't mean they're ready to work. And so we have to do remedial stuff. And so as we looked at the research, of course, the research very much points to, you got to catch them early, and you got to get people, especially up to 3rd grade reading level, by 3rd grade. So along comes COVID, 2020. We're writing the grant to AmeriCorps, and we're all 3 of the folks, including me, who were helping to write this grant, were home with COVID. We all 3 got it. And so we're writing the grant over the airwaves, and we're working with a consultant out of California, and they're helping us write this grant for AmeriCorps. It was funded, and it was the whole pretext was K through 3rd grade. We want to get kids to 3rd grade reading level by 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And so we've expanded it a little bit, but the whole notion of it was, okay, graduation rate is great, and we did a good job with that, but we didn't do it all. And so even though you can't measure it over 18 years.
Yeah.
I guess it's not that many because they're 18 years old. They're 6 when they start. But anyway, it's going to take a long time to make that difference. And so to move the needle, sometimes that's the only thing we look at, and that's not a good idea. We need to make change for the long term. So the long term change is we teach people how to read. So we've got, and our AmeriCorps director did one amazing thing in our community that hasn't been done elsewhere in South Carolina that I'm aware of. Because there are several other AmeriCorps locally in South Carolina, but ours found a way to employ, we can't say employ, they're members, they're not employees. The AmeriCorps members, most of whom in our community are high school seniors. And so we're getting those folks that are considering being teachers to be the mentors to those kids.
Okay.
Well, there's 2 benefits to that. When we wrote the grant, we said, we'll get retired teachers. Well, guess what? Retired teachers retired for a reason.
Right.
And so that pool was not the one that we should have gone for, but she had the foresight to see that we could get these kids in, and they, of course, the kids that are in 1st through 3rd grade, having a senior in high school for them is like, heaven.
Yeah.
And they're helping them learn how to read. So there's those. We do have about 70 retired teachers that are volunteers that do it like an hour a week. And so they're interested in that. They just weren't interested in having a part-time job. We can't call it a job. But
Sure. Yeah.
stipend. And so these kids are not only getting paid, they're also earning money for their college. So they're getting a stipend that is going to help them as a scholarship for college as well. So it's been great for us. We, of course, if you follow the news at all, April the 25th, DOGE canceled all of AmeriCorps. 33,000 people throughout the nation lost their jobs, their membership.
Yeah.
And they were told to go home. I mean, so we had lots of people that were out in the fields doing, repairing a parkway, for example, and they all of a sudden had to go home. So in the midst of all of that, we had to close down AmeriCorps. Our community rallied, and we had a couple of folks that came forward, a couple of foundations local that came forward, and our school district came forward to help us. And so we had a summer program still. By the time we were finally closing down our program, we were told by the state who administers our AmeriCorps program, does an amazing job, told us we're going to be funded for next year because guess what? Congress is the one that appropriates money.
Right.
And so we now have AmeriCorps once again.
That's wonderful.
And so hopefully that will continue this year. And our state director of AmeriCorps has, we've had clean audits. So nationally there were struggles no question about that. That's what put them on the chopping block was their struggles at AmeriCorps National. But we get state funded money. We get money through AmeriCorps National, but it comes to our state, and our state commission actually administers that money. And we've had clean audits forever. And and our guy that does it now is just nothing short of amazing for administering it in the state.
Yeah. AmeriCorps is absolutely one of those necessities for
Yes.
For communities across the country. But
Yeah.
to know that it has such an amazing impact here in South Carolina, and then for that impact to roll downhill into the local communities like Kershaw County is it's so inspiring.
It was 600 in our state. So out of the 33,600 AmeriCorps workers lost their
Gosh.
means of service.
Yeah.
And it was service that many small communities needed, that was just lost for a little bit. Only about a half have come back. So a lot of them said, we're done with AmeriCorps, even though the money's available, we don't want it. And so there is potential in Kershaw County that we can even get more money for AmeriCorps because of that. And we're game for it because we believe that there's going to be some balance there, and that hopefully cooler heads will prevail, and we'll be able to sustain this for the long term, because it is such a great program. I mean, it's basically Peace Corps in the United States. So
Yeah.
who can be against that?
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it, but they did for a little bit, but only a little bit.
Again, and AmeriCorps is another one of those organizations that figures out how to take $1 and turn it into 1,000. So it's gosh, to have you on, Donny, with everything that's gone on in the past 24 hours is so inspiring. And I'm so thankful that Mary and Tom and everybody set this up, because it really helps my emotional state. Because it's hard to look at the world lately and say,
Make sense of it.
why are there so many people out there that see that they only view the world based on the benefits that occur for them, and it's hard to look at all of that and knowing how much of a difference that you're trying to make, and but to see other people that consider themselves to be charitable, but to have limitations to that charity, and not just because of a financial point, but because of trying to think of I'm trying to think of the word, but I do this when I'm exhausted. But anyway, yeah. Look, I'm filling out the application for your canonization. Do you have any any miracles that I can put down that ultimately, like super successes that you've seen in the years?
On my wall it says "Do good anyway." So Mother Teresa is an inspiration to see that sometimes there are people that do bad things, but there are so many people that do good things.
Yeah.
And we've got to concentrate on the good things. So I would say for sure. I mean, there was a guy that asked me probably 10 years ago, what do I consider the most important successes we've had in our county? And I can point to 3 buildings, but those buildings are because of what they have in them. So we have a one-stop shop for social services. We had this dream back early on in my tenure to say, hey, we really want to pull everybody together, because again, getting access to services is important. And so if you're being sent from one place to another, it's really easy to say, hey, what you need to go is go 2 miles down the road to this agency. And it's a whole lot harder to say, go 2 doors down, because those people are going to come back and say, why in the world did you send that person to me?
Yeah.
I can't help them. And so we have a one-stop shop for social services that we house Department of Social Services, Medicaid, Christian Community Ministries, which is a coalition of churches that helps with utilities and food pantry type stuff, and helps seniors. And then we have Sister Care. We have Mental Health America. So we have a group of agencies there. So we in 1998, when we opened the building, we had a small medical clinic that we helped open. They now have their own building on our property toward the back of it. And it's like 4,000 square feet, whereas they started with like 500 square feet. So they've grown tremendously. It's the Community Medical Clinic of Kershaw County, and do amazing stuff. And then we have an emergency homeless shelter that we helped start back in 2010. Shortly after we made that goal of ending hunger and homelessness, we said, hey, we need to do something beyond sending people to Columbia. There wasn't transitions yet, or Craig Curry would have scolded me, but there was a lot of services in Columbia, but that's truly not the way to solve homelessness, is not to bus people somewhere else. It's to
Right.
serve. And so we have 9 transitional shelters that we operate. And so that's a huge thing to me in terms of what we do in community, is take care of our own. And so we do that through transitioning them, because our community, when we started talking to the city and the county about doing this thing, they were all about, no, we don't want a homeless shelter, but we do want transitional housing. We want to be able to send people where they transition into permanent housing again. And so that's what we started, and that's what we've gone with for years. We do that, and I think do it well. Started that in 2005, and it's just grown over the years. We've got a local company, Canty Foundation Specialists, that builds us a house a year now. And so we're able to expand. We have a house on Lee Street. We used to have New Day on Mill, which was the first 5 houses we bought. But now we have Lee Street, we have 18th Street, and we've got more to come. So it's just gradually growing. It's not all in one location, because we do want to be scattered.
Sure.
And we want to serve folks where they are, but also move them to where they need to be. So
See, and
again, the notion of hand up versus handout is a good one.
you all are doing the work of, and I oversimplify how homelessness can be solved. And I'll just throw this at you. You can tell me that's really dumb idea, but
Okay.
in this country, we have a homeless population across the country that is less than what people think that it is. We also have, even in the state of Florida, we have more homes currently standing vacant that have been foreclosed by the banks, that the banks are now receiving write-offs for these homes that could be lived in. But they are simply having these homes out there that are unoccupied, that in some cases, because people aren't living in them, they start to fall apart. But as soon as people live in them, so my oversimplification is, and I've run numbers based on a per person basis, that $38 billion in funding the first year is all it would take to house every single homeless person and give them that hand up that would potentially get them started down the path. And then based on, again, I'm a numbers and data guy. So I look at statistics, and based on what other countries in Europe have done as far as homelessness, based on that $34 billion initially, that's the first year. The second year is 27. That's how much would be spent. And you would always have some fluctuation in numbers, but over the course of about 15 years, you would see $34 billion dwindle down to about $4 billion. Veterans in our country are one of the largest population of homeless and people that are suffering on the streets because of their mental status, or that their injuries, they can't work, they can't do this, and ultimately I'm one of those people that's like, our defense budget is $1.4 trillion a year. You can't carve out $20 billion to create some sort of a function that would, and it could be transitional, but in some cases it can't be transitional, but again, I oversimplify it. So how bad of an idea is that?
I love the idea. I think you've got to put supportive services with it.
Yeah, I agree.
We work closely with Habitat for Humanity, and one of their struggles is people don't know how to take care of a house. They've never had to before, and so a roof leak becomes a huge problem because it's not addressed immediately, and so the roof leak becomes rotted floors, and the rotted floors become plumbing problems, and so I think there's that supportive services, just knowing how to do a house, but also a whole lot of the folks we serve who are homeless have mental health or alcohol and drug problems. And in fact, homelessness is a symptom of those things, not just being homeless. So
Yeah.
we've got some ne'er-do-wells that, just couldn't care less and whatever. And so you take, again, to use our analogy with the food stamps and with the bad apples that are in nonprofits, there's a few of those, but they're not the majority. The majority are folks that lost a job, that whose car broke, and so they couldn't get to work, and so they got fired, and so it just kind of, and they've abused because of drugs or mental health issues. They have no family support, or there simply was no family support to begin with, and it's why they're where they are. So this notion of generational poverty is huge. But all of those things, what I would add to your thing would simply be supportive services to get them to where they're equipped to do the thing. But yeah, the housing is a big thing, and it's changing. Every administration it change, and so the big huge change right now is going from what was called housing first, which means doesn't matter the problem, whatever the problem, serve them and put them in a house. Guess what? Neighborhoods don't like that at all because they don't like the fact that you're going to say somebody can still use drugs and live in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
No, that's against the law and it shouldn't be proper. And the other thing would be if you've got an alcoholic and that person doesn't care to treat themselves, well, that's fine for them. But for the other 4 people that you have in the house that do have alcohol problems and want to solve it, you can't have both and.
Right.
And so now we have switched to with the new administration of no, to provide housing, you have to provide supportive services. But guess what? Housing and Urban Development wants to fund housing, not supportive services. So then, as a nonprofit, you have to say, okay, we'll provide that, but we don't have any money to do that. So then we don't do it well, and we get blamed for not doing it well when we don't have the money to do it. So it's a challenge, and but I like your initial solution, which would give us a whole lot of money to begin with anyway. Because
I warned you. It's oversimplified. It's oversimplified. That's for sure.
Well,
and I'll just say this to the hypocrite that stands out on the street with their beer, watching someone else that they know either has a drug or a drinking problem, to stand there and pass judgment on someone else. That again, I understand our world is full of prejudice and prejudgments and things like that. But like, I'm always astounded by the people that don't take a look at their own situation and recognize, it could be me.
Yeah.
And just voluntarily acknowledge and be empathetic to the fact that it could, I am potentially 6 dominoes falling away from being in that situation.
Exactly.
Again, it's what you all do with the United Way, and the fact that you've been doing this now for 32 years, and you were doing it in effect before that, before you came to work for the United Way, is just outstanding. And I think that speaks to the type of organization that someone would want to be a part of it for as long as you've been there, and how you've been there since the age of 5 is incredible, because there's no way you're older than 50. I refuse to believe it. I want to just make sure everybody knows the website again is uwkc.net. You can check the show notes. I'm also going to link to AmeriCorps, because knowing that AmeriCorps Congress recognizing that they have the power of the wallet is huge, and having AmeriCorps is absolutely one of the institutions or the organizations that just the United States, the people of the United States, the people inside our borders absolutely thrive on. Now, the homeless, your endeavors to help in the homeless situation in Kershaw County, that's been since 2005. We're 20 years into this.
Right.
How many homes, if you can think of it, how many homes have you all had now as transitional homes? Like how many homes in 20 years, how many of you all basically provided?
So we have the same now 9 houses, but we had 5 for many, many years. So of the 5, we generally, some of them were funded partially by Housing and Urban Development funding. And so they had a rule that if you're going to call it transitional housing, the longest anyone can stay is 2 years.
Okay.
Our goal was 6 months to a year, because we started finding that it becomes their home when they've been there a while.
Sure.
And we don't want it to be their home. We want it to be a transition. So, we generally have about 20 people a year that go through our program and move on. So I guess if you did the 20 times 20 years, that's 400 people, right?
That's amazing.
And that's some of them are larger families. I mean, we've had as many as a mother and 6 kids before.
Yeah.
And so, that would be the low estimate would be 400 over those years, 400 families.
Yeah.
So,
Also, what an outstanding organization Sisters Care is. I mean, just fundamentally the what it is they do. So if you don't know what Sisters Care is, it's an organization, if as long as I'm remembering correctly, but domestic abuse.
yes.
They take in the victims of domestic abuse, the children, and they provide again another transitional thing situation, but it's a protective thing. I have and I may see if I can connect them to you, but I have a friend who is probably one of the greatest chefs here in Columbia, South Carolina. And one of the things that he has wanted to do is work with Sisters Care to once a month provide a big 4 or 5 whatever course meal
Wow.
for those that are currently in the situation under the care of Sisters Care. And so I may see if I can reach him out to you, because he's amazing chef.
Oh, wow.
And he's a retired Marine.
Mhm.
And basically after his retirement, he went through Europe learning the trades and
Wow.
everything involving culinary skills. And now watching him work is his chef Hector Sanchez here in Columbia, South Carolina, is absolutely one of and to know him is just sort of you get this sense of like, here's another one that all we need is a couple miracles and we can get him canonized. So it's
Nice.
but Sisters Care, always one of those things that about Sisters Care is that you don't always know where they are. And that's one of the things that makes it difficult for what it is that he wants to provide, because
Right.
in a lot of ways it has to be secret. It has to
Yeah.
be.
Right.
So, but again,
Yeah, I've
Sisters
worked with
Care.
them for 30 years, and I don't know. I know they have 2 in Lexington County, I think, and 1 in Richland County, or maybe the other way around. They don't have one here locally, but we had at one point up until about a year or so ago when HUD funding cut us, we had 2 of our houses at New Day on Mill that were DV homes.
Yeah.
And, Nancy Barton, who headed that up for 26 years, retired a couple of years ago. Miss her greatly because she was quite a force to be reckoned with. And there's, as we said, there's some amazing people that are out there that are doing really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll say the website is uwkc.net. Donny Supplee is at the top of the totem pole for the United Way for Kershaw County. And again, just kudos to you and everything that you all are doing, because it really seems like, just based on everything I've read and talking to you, that United Way is absolutely a success story. And between you and the staff and the volunteers, it's such a great thing to see that even in whatever climate we're experiencing now, that there are still organizations out there that are working hard to extend that dollar as far as it will go, so that people don't have to suffer. And I don't know how else to express the necessity of people that have the means and are willing to donate during this campaign, because we don't know what 2026 is going to look like. And ultimately, to make sure that every, if I'm blessed with a job all the way through 2026, fantastic. If I'm blessed to make money that supports my family, awesome. But can I cut some things short so that I can make sure that somebody else doesn't experience misery in 2026? And that's the biggest thing. So check them out. Again, uwkc.net. Donny Supplee of the United Way of Kershaw County, thank you very much for being on the podcast with me. And we're going to send as many people your way as we can.
Hey, appreciate it, Barrett.
I want to also thank BroadStreet.net, the folks over there, Tom, Mary, Tiffany, everybody. Check out BroadStreetNet for all of your internet marketing needs, because that's what they do. And they will bring people to you through what they do. So definitely do that. Again, BroadStreet.net.
And how clever is it to name your business what your email address? I mean, what your net address is. So
Yeah.
find them. They're it.
Yeah.
.net. So
And they got a really nice new office upstairs. Tom, from the background, can you yell? Is that stairway still pretty creepy?
I had to catch my breath after I came up.
It's creepy and it's very steep.
It's creepy and steep.
Not creepy at all.
Not creepy. Okay, I'm sorry. Not creepy. Interesting.
Sneaky.
It is quite interesting. All right. Well, Donny, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to tell us about before we get out of here?
Just real quickly, I've got a local banker at First Palmetto who has been with us for years, a volunteer, and she gives the example of giving up a cup of coffee. You know, coffee's not cheap anymore, so we're talking $5-6 a day. Of giving up a cup of coffee to be able to give to United Way and maybe make your own coffee. So don't want to trash the coffee places, because we've got a bunch of good ones in our community that are local. But it's just an example of you can give up a little something to be able to give. And the great thing about the United States is we've got disposable income, so we can do it. All we have to do is choose to do it. And if United Way is not the way, then find another way to give and make a difference.
Yeah, there are plenty of organizations that are even associated with United Way that will also take direct assistance. So for sure. Well, Donny Supplee, I want to thank you very much again for being on with us. I will wrap it up. Thank you again, Donny, for being on with me. Links to all of our past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media are available at our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger and support the show? Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content. You can visit members.theallaboutnothing.com, or you can find a link on our webpage. You can also give a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com. You can join our Discord server as well. Links found on our webpage. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. You all please stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.
The All About Nothing podcast is a product of Big Media and produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow Everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. You can follow me across social media by visiting Linktree/Barrett Gruber. And you can follow Zach King on Linktree/AAN Zach. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. To find links to our social media, podcast platforms, and merchandise to support the show, as well as past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or you can call our number and leave a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our sister shows. What the Pod Was That with Carrie, Zach, and myself. Welcome to Wonderland with Ami. Politically Speaking with Erica, Kirsten, and Emily, and Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jameel Brooks and Bill Kimmler. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and punch that notification bell. Thank you for listening, and hear us next week. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media, LLC, and is copyright 2025, all rights reserved.